Tov, everybody. Hope everybody is well. I'll tell you what I wanted to do was take a few minutes and discuss Emunah a little bit. There's been a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts that have been coming up lately, and a lot of questions that people have been asking, and a lot of questions that I've been asking and thinking about. And what I wanted to do. I don't know how long this is going to go for, or how extensive I'll be able to make this. What I would like to do is, at least to start, sort of step by step, talking about Emunah, talking about some of the basics of Emunah, talking about Emunah in times of nisyonos, in times of struggles, in times of tragedies, in times of difficulties, and hopefully to get a chizuk from it myself. Give a chizuk to all of us, and even for things that are basic, things that we all know, Emunah is one of those topics that a person can never learn too much about, and the more that we learn about it, the more that we think about it, the more that it's on our mind, and that it's part of our perspective. So the better off we are, and like I said, I figured this would be something again, the Nishmas, Daniela, Lee, and it happens to be at the same time. Literally within a couple of days of Daniela's passing. So Natasha Links, who is a student here from the very first year of Summer Devorah, 2006, 2007, and for Bet also, originally from Manchester. So Tash lost her father as well, and I spoke with Natasha. I paid a shiva call, and I spoke with her and her mother a little bit afterwards as well. And I don't know, just a lot of these questions of Emunah, obviously come to us when there's a tragedy, when people are taken from us seemingly before the time we would have thought would have been appropriate, and this is really a time that we have to think about Emunah and talk about Emunah. And again, too soon after Ptira, Chazal tell us, as we learned back in Ben Anamachvero class, if you recall, that the Chazal say, that a time when a person, literally mesa muta lefanav, and literally the nifter is right there. That's not a time to be trying to talk to a person about Emunah and comforting them. That's a time for a person to be experiencing pain, and it's only afterwards that a person is really able to reflect and accept some concepts of Emunah. And I feel like again, as we are moving past these tragedies, I don't want to say past them, moving through them, and contemplating and thinking and internalizing. So I don't know. I feel maybe it's time to talk about Emunah, and I don't know. Hopefully this shiur will come out okay, and I'll upload this, and it'll be a help for us. Okay. There's so many different ways and so many different angles and so many places to begin and how to address this topic, because I really would like to try to deal with this in a broad way. So I'm going to pick, I'm going to pick a starting point, and maybe from here build things out. And what I'm going to be talking about now is really based on the Sefer Daat Tevunot, the Sefer by the Ramchal of Moshe Chaim Lutzato. Daat Tevunot is a beautiful, brilliant Sefer where the Ramchal goes through a conversation. In the style of his Sfarim, he goes through a conversation between a person's seichel and a person's neshama, and he asks basic fundamental questions of Emunah, and elucidates and explains things in a very, very beautiful, profound, deep way. Part of the power of all the Sfarim from the Ramchal, is the fact that the Ramchal himself was a tremendous mystic, a tremendous Kabbalist, very much steeped in the teachings of the Arizal, the teachings of Kabbalah, and even his Sfarim that are written, on a pshat level, let's say like the Sefer Mesilas Yesharim and the Sefer Daat Tevunot, where they're written, so to speak, on a level that we can understand them, but these are really all predicated on very, very powerful Kabbalistic concepts, and certainly the Sefer Daat Tevunot is really built on the Kabbalah of the Arizal, but that was part of the koach of the Ramchal, part of his genius, and the beauty of his writing was his ability to speak out the nimshal, so to speak, to explain how all those Kabbalistic concepts really express themselves in the way that Hashem runs the world, etc. So a fundamental topic that the Ramchal deals with in the Sefer Daat Tevunot, it's a Sefer all about Emunah, all about trying to understand Hashem and how Hashem runs the world. So a fundamental idea And again, like I said, we can start from so many different starting points. We can start from, Bereshis bara Elokim. We can start, why did Hashem create the world to begin with? And, perhaps we'll get to all of these along the way. But I'm starting somewhat in an arbitrary place. The Ramchal tells us a very fundamental yesod, a very fundamental concept that I think is, he speaks about it in one context, in one way, but we're going to use it as a template in order to understand, hopefully, a very wide variety of topics. And the Ramchal explains to us the following idea. The purpose of the world, ultimately, the purpose of the world, in the long term, is to be mative, to give good to man, for man to exist in order to create shleimus in the world, to create a perfection in the world, and therefore bringing the world to its perfection, its shleimus, and that will be expressed by the world recognizing the Yichud of Hashem, the oneness of God, the unity of Hashem, the unity of all the creation and the Torah, and all of these things. And so the Ramchal says that this is going to come about by two processes that are working side by side at the same time. And he calls these two things Hanhagat Hamishpat and Hanhagat Hayichud. The way of Mishpat, the way of judgment, of justice, Hanhagat Hamishpat, and Hanhagat Hayichud is the way of oneness, the way of singleness, the way of unity. And the Ramchal explains like this: the Hanhagat Hamishpat is the short-term Hanhaga. That's the short-term way that Hashem runs things. That's the cause and effect, right? What's mishpat, justice? Judgment is when something happens, so that there's an appropriate response. Cause and effect, happens in the Hanhagas Hamishpat, and this is where we have our averos and our mitzvos affect what happens here in the world. And this is where we have bechira, to choose good and to choose bad, and this is where it seems that there is a cause and effect happening, and that's all the case. That's all Hanhagas Mishpat. But the Ramchal explains that at the same time there's something called Hanhagas Hayichud that's taking place also. Hanhagas Hayichud is that there's really all a oneness, there's all a unity, and it's really all a perfection. Now, the Hanhagat Hayichud, ultimately, in order to understand it, we have to talk about it in terms of its long term, because in the short term, we can't see it, we can't understand it. But what is the Hanhagat Hayichud? The Hanhagat Hayichud will be understood ultimately when Mashiach comes, at the end of days, when the world is elevated and brought to its place of perfection, it's brought to its place of complete shleimus, it's brought to its place of yichud, of unity with Hashem. So at that point, we will be able to go back and see how really everything that happened all along the way was also all Hashem's yichud. Everything that happened, everything that took place, all the twists, all the turns were really all expressions of Hashem's yichud along the way. At that point in time, there will no longer be a concept of tzaddik v'ralo. It will be obvious to us why bad things happen to good people. This is something that we find all over, expressed in Chazal in a variety of ways. I'll just mention a couple of them, because right now we make a bracha. When bad things happen, a person hears about a petira, a person hears about, it's brought down really in Shulchan Aruch that a person should say this about any bad news, but if you say it about news other than a person being niftis, then people will look at you funny, or think it's not appropriate. But the halacha is that when a person hears bad news, or especially, is say the bracha of Dayana Emes. We only say it with the Shem Hashem, when we're talking about somebody that was nifter, that a person is actually in avelus for. But it's the bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, Dayan ha'emet, the true judge. And we are blessing God's judgment. We're blessing the fact that God knows what He's doing, even when things that are bad happen to us. And then there's another bracha. We make a bracha tov v'hameitiv, when something good happens to us. So either make a shechianu or make the bracha tov v'hameitiv, the one who is good and who does good, right? Which means that nowadays we experience ra and we experience tov. We experience these two things as different, right? But Chazal tell us that explicitly that in the times of Mashiach, in the la'asad level, it's not going to be that way. At that time, it'll be Hashem and His name will both be one. Hashem, the oneness of Hashem meaning the ultimate goodness, the ultimate perfection, everything cheshboned out, everything calculated to perfection, and his name, the expression of him, the way that we see him, the way that we interact with him, which again, right now, the way we experience it, we can experience it as Ra. We can experience a dayan ha'emet, bracha, of something bad. We can see lack and evil in the world. We do experience it, and we're supposed to experience it as such. That's why there's a different bracha on it, right? But Bayom Hu Hashem Echad Ushmo Echad. We daven every day in Aleinu. Then Hashem and His name will be one, and it'll all be good. It'll all be perfect. There won't be at that point the bracha of dayan ha'emet anymore, right? Again, we say this in Shema every day, but in Shema also, we're expressing what we believe, what we know to be true, but experience does not come out this way yet, right? We say Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei, the Shem of Rachamim, and Elokeinu, the Shem of Din, the Shem of Gvura. It's all Hashem Echad. It's all good. It's all an expression of Hashem's goodness. But now we don't experience it this way. So the Ramchal explains what's going on over here. That's really what's going on. That's the fundamental idea between this idea of the Hanhagat Hamishpat and the Hanhagat Hayichud. Hanhagat Hamishpat, again, that's the short term. That's cause and effect. That's tzadik v'ralo. That's when things look bad, things look like they're not working out well over here. Things look like they are something that shouldn't have happened. That's all part of Hanhagat Hamishpat. And that's why now we experience it that way and make a dayan ha'emet, right? But when Mashiach comes, whenever that point will be, so then Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad, we're going to be able to look back and we're going to be able to see how every single thing was actually an expression of Hashem's yichud. It was actually an expression of Hashem's oneness, of Hashem's perfection, and it could not have been any other way. It could not have been any other way. And now this is taking it now a level deeper, and this is getting to an area where, sometimes we have a hard time understanding, getting our head, wrapped around this. But the idea, the concept of Hanhagas Hayichud is, which again, we can't see it now. We can't have access to it now. And, we have Emunah that it exists. We believe that it's there. And that's why we make a bracha of dayan ha'emet, right? It expresses both things. It expresses the fact that we experience this as bad, but it also expresses the fact that we're accepting that it comes from Hashem. But even now, there is the Hanhagas Hayichud that's going on. It is actually happening, that everything that takes place, no matter how terrible and evil and painful, but it is an expression of the revelation of Hashem's oneness. Again, we don't have the eyes with which to see it right now, but that's what our Emunah is. Our Emunah is believing that even though now it looks like a bad cause and effect, but our Emunah is that really it's all there, it's all necessary, it's all part of Hashem's perfection. It's all part of Hashem's plan, and that being the case, again, we're going to see that it really could not have been any other way. Now, I want to explain this now in a way where using this concept, I want to hopefully try to address some other ideas that have to do with Emunah and our understanding of how things happen, and maybe not why things happen, but how we can understand that we can't understand why things happen. If you really think about it, this idea of the Hanhagat Hamishpat and Hanhagat Hayichud, I think it very much parallels, or in some ways is like a template, for the idea of Yediyah and Bechira, the idea of a person's ability to have free will, our Bechira Chavshis, and Hashem's Yediyah, Hashem's knowledge of what we're going to do, right? This is a very famous question the philosophers already dealt with. How could it be? How could it be that a person really has free will? How could it be that I'm really free to choose what to do right now if Hashem knows what it is that I'm going to be choosing, right? How can that be? Now, I would like to address this question, but I'm not going to address it now in the context of this year. Maybe as this series, if it continues, and we get into more topics of Emunah, you'll let me know if you're interested, and maybe I'll address this idea of Yediyah and Bechira, how this, it's a contradiction, it's a paradox. How can such a thing exist? But in the meantime, I want to try to explain. It's really the same paradox and the same contradiction as what the Ramchal is talking about. I think it really fits into the same parameters as our bechira, our free will exists in the world of the Hanhagas Hamishpat, right? In the world of the cause and effect, in the world of, as Ramchal calls it, the Siba and the Mesovev, cause and effect, that's where our Bechira exists, right? But in the world of the Yichud, Hanhagat Hayichud, right, that's Hashem's Yediyah. That Hashem knows from beginning to end everything what's going to be, everything how it's going to work out, how everything is going to be perfect from beginning to end. Right? You hear what I'm saying? I don't know. I didn't see this really in any Svarim, brought down with this connection, but I think it really makes a lot of sense. The same conflict that we experience between Yediyah and Bechira, our ability that we freely choose, and yet we believe that Hashem knows what's going to happen, which again we'll address hopefully. But I want you to hopefully understand that is really a part of this question, I think. It's a part of this topic, because the Hanhagat Hayichud means that from beginning to end, Hashem knows what's happening. He's in control. He's making it perfect. To us, it looks like we have mishpat. It looks like this cause and effect. The same way it looks like we have bechira, right? Which we do. Yeah. But it's two parallel tracks. That's what I'm trying to show, right? There's really two parallel tracks: the Hanhagas Hamishpat and Hanhagas Hayichud parallel track, and we're seeing also, that you have the same idea. The free will and the yediyah, the knowledge of Hashem, also are working in parallel tracks. Working together. Okay, what I want to finish with now, just a thought, and then hopefully we'll pick it up from here next time. Is where this leads us is a very important point in Emunah, and that is the following: while when we have the ability to act, when something is in our hands, when we have the ability to do hishtadlut, to try, to put in effort, to work. Whether it's to help a person who is not well, or whether it's to make parnasa, or whether it's to work in our ruchnias, wherever it is, when we have the ability to put in work and ishtadlus, we must do so 100%. Right? If a person is not well, we must put in 100% effort to get them well. If a person knows that they have some sort of a sickness, or they're prone to a certain sickness, they have to take every medication and do every treatment that they can. That al pi hishtadlut, based on our worldly endeavor, is necessary in order to be healthy, in order to be well. There's no question about that, right? But at the same time, we believe. That ultimately what happens is biyad Hashem, right? Ultimately, whether a person is going to be healed or not, whether a person is going to make a parnasa, make money or not, really, ultimately, that is in the hands of Hashem. So while we do all of our effort, we put in our hishtadlus, we have to work as much as we can, which I think is also an important topic. Maybe we'll get to that also in these discussions. Yeah, but we believe all the time that it's biyad Hashem. Hashem is really going to determine whether this person is going to be well or not, whether I'll make this parnasa or not, and whether a person will live or not. That is all up to Hashem, right? Now, once something happens, right? Once it's past the point of ishtadlus, once it's past the point where my input, where my effort can have any effect, right? Again, in the Hanhagat Hamishpat, in the place of Bechira, in the place of cause and effect, we view that my effort works. When I pick this up and drop it, it falls because I picked it up, right? Even though we believe that Hashem is doing it and it couldn't be any other way, but we exist in the cause and effect of Bechira, right? We exist in the cause and effect of the Hanhagat Hamishpat, right? But that's only when I'm involved in it. But after the fact, once something has happened, right? I believe, then after the fact, we say it could not have been any other way. It could not have been any other way. In other words, we can't say, if a person, let's say, had a medical condition, and if only they would have gone to that doctor, earlier, or if only they would have taken this treatment, or if only they would have not gotten stuck in that traffic light, they would have gotten the job. That's wrong to say. It's wrong to say al pi Emunah. Of course, we see it that way, and of course, we experience the cause and effect in that way. Yeah, but in a real way, in a real deep way of Emunah, once something has been already, right? Once something happened, yeah, we accept and we believe that it could not have been a different way. It could not have been a different way. Now, if this sounds a little bit, far out to you, I'll tell you, it's actually a halacha in the Shulchan Aruch. It's a halacha in the Shulchan Aruch. I didn't bring it here. Maybe this is it. Oops. What was that? No, I don't know what that was. I don't have it here, but I'll bring it for the next time. It's in Yoredea. Shulchan Aruch Yerdea Shin Ayin Vav, I think, 376, Shin Ayin Hey, Shin Ayin Vav, I don't remember exactly where. Believe that I'll bring it next time. But the halacha is like this. It's talking about the halachas of Nicham Avelim, of paying a shiva call. And the halacha says like this: when a person pays a shiva call, you are not allowed to say to the Avel, listen to this, you're not allowed to say to the Avel, Ma lecha la'asot ki I efshar l'shanot ma shehaya. Okay? You're not allowed to say to a person who is mourning, quote, Ma lecha la'asot, what can you do? Ki I efshar l'shanot ma shehaya, you can't change what was. Right? What does that mean? In other words, you're trying to comfort a person. Let's take it away from the case of mourning for a second, a little bit, but let's say a person, one of two people was looking to get a job, in Google, administration in Google, a six-figure job with all the perks and all the benefits, and it came down to two people. Two people were up to the job, right? The Sarah and Chaya, yeah. And Sarah gets up that morning, and she gets up early, and she gets ready and gets dressed and gets herself together. Davins, of course, gets everything ready, and she gets in the car, and now she has to choose, whether to go on the, to take the Triborough Bridge, or to take the, some other bridge. I forgot all take the Major Deegan, or I forgot the other one, the FDR. I don't know. Yeah, she has a choice to go one of two ways, and she goes this way, right? And hits traffic. She gets terrible traffic over there, and she should have used Waze, should have used GPS, whatever. She's stuck in traffic, and she's sitting there, and she misses her interview. She misses the interview, and Chayi gets the job. And if she would have gone the other way, she would have zipped right through the traffic, and she would have been there, right? So what does her friend say? And she's all torn up about it, and she's tzibrachen, and she's all upset. So what does her friend say to her? Tries to comfort her. What does her friend say to her? Said, look, I understand why you're upset that this happened, but in truth, there's nothing you can do about it now. You can't change it anymore, so you may as well get over it. Right? It's something you say to a person. You want a person to get over something. You say, okay, look, you can't change it. You can't change it. You may as well get over it. You may as well accept what it is. You may as well accept what it is. So, okay, so the Ramah says you can't say that to a person. You can't say to a person, don't say to a person, what can you do? You may as well get over it. Now I want to just explain, right? For sure, you can help a person to get over it, and for sure help a person to accept what was. That's not the issue. He says what the issue is. The Ramah says because you make it sound, when you say that, you make it sound that if you would have done something different, the person would have lived. And that's Giduf. That's what he says. It's Giduf. It's heresy. It's a very powerful thing. Right? To tell an Avel, to tell a person who is mourning, true, if you would have gone to that doctor, he would have diagnosed this, and he would have lived, but okay, it's too late now, you can't do anything about it now, so you may as well get over it. That's heresy. It's heresy, because you're making it sound like something could have changed over here. Something different could have been done that would have kept this person alive. And if this person is not alive now, that means there's nothing we could have done. Nothing we could have done. Right? Again, in the makom of mishpat, in the Hanhagat of mishpat, in the place of cause and effect, when we're in a place where we can do hishtadlus, we have to do hishtadlus, and we treat the hishtadlus like it works. We treat the hishtadlus like it is a cause and effect, and that it works. We treat it that way. But after the fact, once something happened, we accept the Emunah Shalema that there is nothing that could have changed. There's nothing that could have changed. Nothing could have kept this person alive a minute longer. Not every doctor, not every treatment. Nothing could have gotten this job. No matter what happened, whether the person said the Lashon Hara, didn't say the Lashon Hara, nothing could have made this shidduch work. Nothing. Once something happened and it's past our place of hishtadlus. So, many times there's more hishtadlus to do, and you can't just say, oh, well, it's minish amayim. No, that's a different question. Right? I'm talking about in a situation when something is final, something happened. Right? We accept when something happened that was the Ratzon Hashem. Again, we'll continue with Hashem with these ideas, but just to overview, to recap, we're talking about the Ramchal concept of Hanhagat Hamishpat, that there is an Hanhaga of cause and effect, or what appears to us as cause and effect, and this is where we have Bechira, this is where we have free will, this is where there are consequences, this is where we do things. But at the same time, there's Hanhagat Hayichud, there's this way of unity, which we're really only going to know and see clearly and experience la'asid lavo, in the future, where we're going to be able to look back and see how everything was the Ratzon Hashem and how everything was perfection. But in the meantime, we believe it. We believe that it's there, and we trust that it's there, and we have Emunah that even though things look bad and things look wrong and our experience is wrong, and we make a bracha v'tov v'meitiv because it feels wrong, but we believe that Hanhagat Hayichud is there at the same time. And part of this idea, which ends up as a very powerful concept, which I have to continue with next time, but part of this idea is this concept, though, that once something happened, once something took place, and there's no more hishtadlut to do, there's no more effort, there's nothing more I can do about it, a person must accept, a person has to accept that this was min hashemayim. There's nothing that could have changed this, nothing that could have done, nothing anybody could have done or said that could change this. Again, a very powerful concept, but I think has the ability to release a lot of bitterness from a person. Okay, Mr. Hashem, we should be zocheh to discuss these topics over simchas and continue to be mechazek our emunah together.